report.
Those people that are on it, they're going to keep coming back. People that don't know about it. They don't
Thank you.
know.
Talk about that in, member comments.
Forward that to me, will you? Yeah.
Yeah.
Here's the thing I knew that I wasn't going to be.
Yeah, I'll tell them.
You want me to just text it?
Yeah,
Okay.
just tell me that I
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, and some other stuff too.
Welcome back, everyone. I'd like to open up the meeting of the Shade Tree, Delaware City Shade Tree Commission for January 24th, 2017. Welcome back. Hope everyone had a great holiday season. We'll start with roll call.
Ms. Brewster?
Yes.
Mr. Buck?
Here.
Mr. Carey?
Here.
Mr. Glissman?
Here.
Ms. Sulik? Mr. Wilbur?
Here.
Ms. Woodmeek?
Here.
Councilman Hellinger?
Here.
Vice Chairwoman Wright?
Here.
Chairman Olin?
Here. Okay,
Motion to excuse. Have we heard from Marissa Sulik?
I have not.
Okay. I'm not willing to make such a motion then. In the spirit of the letter that our mayor sent, I'm willing to excuse, to make, a motion for excused members, but not for unexcused absences.
okay, thank you, Tom. Okay, item number 2 on the list here is election of chair and vice chair. And how shall we proceed with this, Elaine?
Well, I would make, see if anybody wants to nominate, if you're willing to do it again, or if anybody else has
Okay.
an interest in doing it.
Yeah, I'd like to nominate Paul Olin to be chairman.
Well, that would be-
There she is.
I'm happy to second that nomination.
Hi, Marissa.
Over there by. Hold on, let me
Right, right.
record that
Yeah, go
Marissa's
ahead.
here. Okay, so we have a nomination for Mr. Olin and a second. Is there any other
I second,
nomination?
oh, I'm sorry.
I move that the nominations be closed.
And do you accept?
Yeah, I accept. Thank you very much.
Okay. And I'll call roll. Marissa, we just elected for a chair, so I'm going to call your name. Okay. Okay. Great. So, Ms. Brewster?
Here.
No, yes, or no.
Yes. I'm backwards. It's the theme of my day. Yes.
Mr. Buck?
Yes.
Mr. Carey?
Yes.
Mr. Glissman?
Yes.
Ms. Sulik? Yes. Mr. Wilbur?
Yes.
Ms. Woodmeek?
Yes.
Councilman Hellinger?
Yes.
Vice Chairwoman Wright?
Yes.
And Chairman Olin?
Yes. Okay, for vice chair, Susan, did you want to say a few words about that?
Well, I am willing to do it again, but I certainly would welcome someone else stepping up. I did tell Paul that I would be either the vice chairperson or I will continue to write the annual report, but I won't do both. So you can pick the lesser of the two.
I guess I should open up the floor for discussion on that. Does anyone have any thoughts about which they would prefer Susan, which role they would prefer Susan to assume, vice chairperson or annual report writer?
I have a really good template for the report. I mean, it would be, I've used pretty much the same format, and it's just a matter of updating.
Plugging in the numbers.
Plugging in new numbers and thinking about what are the highlights for us this year or last year, and writing a couple paragraphs.
And half of the report is basically already written,
Yeah.
by arborist
Right.
Doug Richmond.
He's made it very easy the last couple of
yeah.
years, yeah.
So I nominate Susan Wright to be vice chair.
Second. Any other nominations for vice chair? Okay, then I move that nominations be closed for vice chair.
Ready? Ms. Brewster?
Yes.
Mr. Buck?
Yes.
Mr. Carey?
Yes.
Mr. Glissman?
Yes.
Ms. Sulik?
Yes.
Mr. Wilbur?
Yes.
Ms. Woodmeek?
Yes.
Councilman Hellinger?
Yes.
Vice Chairwoman Wright?
Yes.
And Chairman Olin.
Yes. Great.
And for the record, I'd be happy to assume a lead role to write the annual report. With everybody's help and input, it shouldn't be too difficult.
Great. Thank you, Tom.
And as Susan pointed out, she has created a beautiful template over the years. We just basically need to fill in some
Yeah,
blanks.
yeah.
Okay, that's great. All right. Okay, on to the next item. Number 3, approval of motion summary for the meeting held way back in October 25th, 2016, as recorded and transcribed.
I move that the minutes from the October 25th meeting be approved.
Second.
Ms. Brewster?
Yes.
Mr. Buck?
Yes.
Mr. Carey?
Yes.
Mr. Glissman?
Yes.
Ms. Sulik?
Yes.
Mr. Wilbur?
Yes.
Ms. Woodmeek?
Yes.
Councilman Hellinger?
Yes.
Vice Chairwoman Wright?
Yes.
And Chairman Olin.
Yes. Okay. On to item number 4. It doesn't look like there are any members of the public here this evening. So on to item number 5. A discussion of recommendations of the Tree Bank Fund. And Ted, I believe you were going to help us out with this.
Yeah, so when we've gotten some contributions to the Tree Bank Fund, and I think we all know the intent is for tree replacement and taking care of the street trees. So when we looked at the existing ordinance, we saw a few things that could be added so that we could specifically zero in to make sure that the monies were used properly for the street trees and maintenance of street trees. I think we gave it 1 year, so that it was really a lot more specific now, the way that with some of the changes we've added to there. And it's kind of been going around for a while. We kind of started this last fall, but we wanted to propose some amendments that would allow us to take that Tree Bank Fund money and use it towards our tree replacement, street tree replacement schedule, which we took a big chunk out of last fall, but we still have more street trees to replace this year, and we'd like to use that Tree Bank Fund. And I think it's just a lot clearer now, hopefully. And if you have any questions on that, I'd love to answer those. Did everyone have a chance to review it?
Yeah, I did, and I like that you use the track edit function so you can see what the changes are. That was very helpful. So I guess the one question I have is, and this has more to do with city budgeting, how that process works. Does the money that would get donated to that fund, does it have to be expended in that fiscal year or any certain time? Or can that carry over indefinitely?
Definitely. It's
okay.
Yeah, we don't have to spend that money. I think what we haven't, I don't know if we said it possible, but we kind of want to keep reserve funds,
Okay.
as we move along, so that, because it doesn't come into the fund consistently. It's based on
right.
development. So
We had a couple years where there was no money coming in.
yeah, I think what kind of really pushed us along was that we, with the ash tree, a lot of the street trees removed, we had that money sitting in there, but it kind of was questionable whether we could use it for this tree. Had some questions there, so wanted to clear that up so that when we that the money is available, we can use it.
Yeah. I don't mean to take away any of your flexibility with the funds, but I'm wondering about an allocation that you always leave a certain percentage in there. And, I would hate for in 1 year you have a tree disaster and you're replacing, and then the next year comes along and you have no money and we don't have anything coming in, sorry. So,
That's a good point. And we didn't put that in there, but I think we all had that on our minds, but I guess we never really had that in there, but we could definitely add some. Did you have any ideas on?
No, I don't. And I
Okay.
don't want to, as I said, I don't want to take away any flexibility, but I think maybe some broad parameters might be helpful in that paragraph.
I agree. I think it would be good to have that.
It would be A3, I guess. Or a separate, I don't know. The people who write these will
Right.
know.
Right, so maybe it would be best to base it on a percentage of the total amount in the fund, some type of wording like the fund not to be depleted by more than 70%. And that's a number I'm
Yeah,
just pulling
right.
out.
No, I think
of
that's
my
about, that was
head.
what I was thinking. Always leave at least at the beginning of the fiscal year, there should remain 25% at the
Right,
end of that year.
of the, yeah. So that not more than 75%
Yeah.
can be withdrawn in any single year. Anybody else have any thoughts on that?
On this particular issue or the
Well,
report in general?
first on this,
Yeah.
and then towards the rest of it. So what do you think, Ted?
I think that would be great, fine. I'm not sure exactly how to word it. I'd like to ask Darren. for
Yeah,
Sure.
that's
Yeah, yeah.
But with what you have, I think that's a good go by, 25% of the, at the beginning of the, saving at least 25% of that fund from the beginning of the year. Or like Paul said, not spending more than 75%. I think that would be, I'm not sure how to add that, but I think
Yeah.
we could add that language.
Okay, sounds good. Okay, any other questions?
Yeah, I have a question. Could you comment just briefly on the area there where a publicly held site is preferred, but the city could designate a private tree bank site, that it'd be permanently preserved via covenant or easement? Like, exactly, what do you mean by that? Or can that be done at any time? As far as like, I mean, what do you mean by private? Private, does that mean a private site?
Not necessarily a private site, more of a tree bank site, because the language refers to a tree bank site, and it doesn't refer to a private site per se. And I think when we're talking, we're looking more in our parks as the sites that we will be looking at if we designate a tree bank site. That would give us the flexibility to let's just say we had a surplus of funds in the account and we needed some trees in some of our parks, or we wanted to provide some shade. We could designate a tree bank site in one of our parks that would we could use that tree bank fund money for. And I think a little more specifically, if I'll go to Speedway. If the Speedway, if we received funds from there and we wanted to spend some of that money in that specific area of the city, then we could designate a tree bank site in that area that would kind of mitigate the trees that were lost on a certain development site. Is what that would refer to.
And we also have a number of conservation easements throughout the city, some being held, and Speedway is a great example of that. I mean, they have some of that, the majority of that land is in a conservatory type arrangement there. So yeah, we could plant there, it's not owned by us, but it can never be lumbered, it can never be something, anything like that. Now, where it would fit would be, let's say, back there behind Dempsey, because there's not a conservation easement back there. There's an agreement that they're not going to do anything with it, but it's not a conservation easement. Right. But we have a number of those throughout the city as part of the development process that we could then seat if we wanted to.
Does the Soil and Water Conservation District hold those easements?
I don't know how they're in perpetuity. I don't know who actually owns them per se,
Okay, I was just curious.
but yeah.
Like the Speedway side is owned by Speedway, but the EPA reviews it has to be reviewed annually. And,
Ohio EPA?
right.
Okay.
And if they want to change the covenant language or something, it would have to go through the Ohio EPA a lot of times on the
Oh,
conservation.
so that's a covenant, not an easement at Speedway?
Right.
Okay,
It's well,
because there's a difference.
yeah. I'm trying to remember, those just came through. If they were conservation, I thought they were conservation easements.
I
though.
think they are easements.
Okay, that's okay. I was just curious.
So, do you mind?
Oh, of course, go ahead, Dave.
So what's the utility of using tree bank funds to plant on an easement like that as opposed to natural regeneration? Or if we decide, or if the city decides that, yes, we're going to do that, how does that get designed and what is, I mean, there's does it come through the Shade Tree Commission every time that happens?
More than likely. I mean, that would be the assumption. I can't say that because it's in the future. I don't have a crystal ball, but yeah, that would be, the assumption would be, that would be the case. Because again, this committee is everything about shade trees, and if we're going to do a tree bank, it sure as heck should
Yeah,
come
that's
through
good.
there.
That's a good question because we might have a different opinion of where the tree or trees should be planted.
Right.
So, okay.
Well,
But it's not a nursery per se. It's not a place where you would get trees started and then replant them.
They're
Okay.
there forever.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's not a nursery type.
Okay.
If you guys remember, we had reviewed the William Street, where they were going to do the widening of the rest street there. And then Matt Weber had brought, and he had proposed
Like three
some
different
areas that were going to be tree
Yeah.
bank areas. So
Yeah.
I think you didn't like those very much. And
Well,
it was kind of, they went back and looked at some other things. I don't even know where it stands right now, but that's kind of what would be happening is once that development area gets done, through engineering or through a landscape design,
Yeah.
something like that would come back to Shade Tree for your approval. Even if it's something like between Henry Street and along the bike path up there where we planted the one tree, the big open area,
yeah.
could, use more trees in that area. But obviously, since
Yeah.
we're planting street trees, we're not planting trees in there right now. So that would be an area that we could use some of these trees to fill in.
Right.
Park areas need trees that need to be replaced, like at the back of Mingo where there were trees originally, things like
Yeah.
that. So
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I don't think the issue is so much that we didn't, I don't think you should be concerned that we didn't like the idea of the tree bank where he had proposed it. But I think it would be a public issue. I would see if you're going to cut down a bunch of trees along East William Street and say to the people, oh, but don't worry, we're planting those trees up at Speedway. That to me would be possibly a public issue. You might get some heat from that.
well, I think especially in the William Street, what the idea was from Matt was, and I can't speak for him because he's not here, but was to try to keep those trees in the neighborhood.
Okay,
And that's what
Right.
I think that this will do is try to keep those trees in the neighborhood.
okay,
Can't always be done,
Yeah.
but
Right, yeah, because that's a good idea because as the iTree software showed us in that report, these trees provide services to that neighborhood. So it would be nice to have a continuation of the tree services to the people in that neighborhood, if possible, so.
do you think would it be worth entertaining though, still have the idea that maybe there should be something in here saying that, I know it says here by direction inspection of the city arborist, but also and the tree commission? would that settle everything that we're talking about?
Yeah, I think that would be good language. I mean, Councilman Hellinger I would think that the council would look towards this committee for a recommendation.
Absolutely.
So yeah, we can add that language, and I think that would be, that'd be fine in there.
But the Shade Tree Commission isn't mentioned anywhere in here, but I'm actually okay with that because there are plenty of references to the city. And that would include the Shade Tree Commission. We have a mandate, that's our job. We deliver on these issues on behalf of the city. So I'm okay with that.
Is there any thought to opening up this fund to removals? If we're going to have a bank site that's depleted or that's overrun with one thing or another, is site prep implied, or do we need to spell that out in any way?
What kind of removals?
Oh, well, say you get a site that's got something like 10% bush honeysuckle and 10% calorie pear. That may not be a hospitable place to put anything without any of those things being
Removal in preparation for the tree bank site. You're not talking about removals like of street trees in general.
No. Well, if you're going to talk about a tree bank site, it may not be just as simple as planting trees.
Yeah. Okay.
And so if we're stuck with only planting trees, where would we get the funds to make the site suitable for planting trees? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
That's my only thought about it.
Well, that brings up another question, because actually here it says planning shall be carried out directly by the developer or landowner. So, I mean, does that mean that it's their funds that are planting the trees?
Oh, I would assume so. Well, being that it's money from the tree bank fund, the developer that puts money into the fund.
Yeah, I think that's two, I think that's, and, where are you reading that?
Down at the bottom on 2.
I think that your, what you brought up, Dave, could be easily accommodated inserting the word preparation before the word planting in that very last paragraph. So the bank fund shall be used only for the preparation, planting, and installation of trees. Isn't that what you're talking about, basically?
Yeah, essentially, yeah.
My question is separate from what his was.
Right, but yeah, I think, I mean, you know, when we do developments, the developers typically plant the trees.
Right.
Yeah, but if we accept funds from that developer in lieu of them planting trees, it goes into the tree bank fund, at which point then we as a city pull that money out. And then typically, you know, Doug hires a contractor then to go ahead and do those trees, just like when we did all that mass planting. Is that correct, Doug?
That's correct.
Okay.
I just have one other little thing that I'd like to see addressed or added. I'd like to see a twice a year update to the Shade Tree Commission on the status of the tree bank fund.
Mm-hmm.
Usually once a year we hear about budget stuff, and maybe 6 months from that point. So twice a year.
That's a good idea. No surprises, or at least fewer surprises. Okay.
Yeah, I like the fact that many things are now spelled out that were, you know, vague before. In the spirit of Dave's comment, I would go actually one step, you know, further. The tree fund can be used for preparation of sites, you know, planting, installations, transportation, mulching, watering, labor associated. Delaware is a tree city USA. I would even go so far as to suggest that the tree fund, it would not be inappropriate in my mind if the tree fund would be used for promotional purposes, educational purposes. To me, that would be in the spirit, of the tree fund. However, I would like to be clear on one thing. We're talking about trees, and I think the implication is we're talking about live trees. I would hate to see the tree fund used for Christmas trees, let's say, or planters or hanging baskets, etc. The focus should be on live trees. And I hope that's clear.
Is there any section in there that leads you to believe that it may not be clear? Is there anything ambiguous in there?
Well, trees, how do you define a tree? Obviously it should be the implication is it's a live tree, but if somebody wants to say, somebody suggests, let's put up a dozen Christmas trees downtown. To me, that would be in violation of the letter and spirit.
That would never. I appreciate your argumentative stance on that, but it's, that's okay. I mean, it's well known that the tree fund is for basically street trees and for a tree bank.
Yeah.
Catastrophic events.
Any other questions for Ted on this issue?
Well, I have another related issue about the tree bank, about the actual money and funds. Would this be a good opportunity, or I can bring it up during member comments? I've looked at the city's budget, and there's a whole page devoted to the tree fund. Revenues, expenditures, and I have some questions about that and some comments about that. When would be a good time to do that?
I think right now would be a good time. Ted, do you think?
I think so.
And since we're talking about the tree
I
fund,
don't have a copy of the budget. Do you?
Yeah, I don't have a copy of that right now, but
I have copies here. I brought a bunch of copies. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I'm probably miscounting here.
Just happen to have those copies for you.
4, 5, 6. I came prepared.
Thank you, sir. Hole punched and everything.
Yeah, Susan also had a question about regular updates. So this could be the first update. So this is from the city's budget. It's available on the city's website. The city has approved that, and this is the first time that the Shade Tree Commission has seen these numbers. No, we have not been consulted about that. So I have a bunch of questions here. If you look at the 2017 budget, first question, on top, developer tree fees. I guess the budgeted income is $15,000, for 2017. Apparently, we have not yet received any money from Speedway. That was the implication of what Ted said earlier. Also, there is significant amount of money coming in from Coughlin's Crossing. The developer has pledged to put $100,000 upfront, followed by another $500,000 down the road as the project gets rolled out. So, what is the budgeted income? It should be significantly more than $50,000. Maybe nobody knows, but it should be, in my estimation, significantly more than $15,000.
I think the Speedway funds were deposited in 2016, I believe.
Okay, so we have received those.
And 15,000 is an estimate. That's a kind of conservative number that I think we like to throw at that. It's hard telling how much or what will be deposited till the end of the year, but that 15,000, I believe that's where that number comes from. It's an estimate only.
Okay. Obviously, up or down.
Absolutely.
Okay. All right.
and likely will change.
Okay, the city is transferring, as it did in previous years, $50,000, $50,000 to Parks Fund. It says under tree purchases, the amount of $75,000 is listed. Why that amount and where would these trees go? And I'm a little puzzled by that number. I don't fully understand that. If you look at previous years, there's no such allocation.
Well, there is back in 14.
That was what actually was spent. That just seems to be just an estimate of what they expect this year, right? And if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen.
Yeah, but the last 2 years, we've planted a heck of a lot of trees,
Well,
so why
that's-
aren't they accounted for in that line?
Well, you have the money up there in your developer tree funds. There's your revenues, so.
But in 16 and 15, there wasn't one tree purchase.
Yeah,
Or
Unless
at
it's-
least in that.
unless it's wrapped up
Line
in the
item.
professional.
Well, the trees that were purchased were part of the Parks and Natural Resources budget.
And that's what gets transferred.
This is just the tree.
Yeah, this is just the
Oh,
tree fund
okay.
budget. So if we were to make some of these changes to the code, I think we're anticipating, that's where the 75,000 came in. But we made a pretty significant purchase of street trees at the end of 2016, if you remember.
Mhm.
So that 75,000 number will probably be adjusted because I think we ate up about half of our backlog of trees last year, right, Doug?
More than.
Maybe more than. So I'm pretty confident that $75,000 purchase will be adjusted. But again, that we're anticipating using the actual tree fund to purchase those street trees. And that's where that has come from. And that's part of the reason we want to update this tree bank fund ordinance is so that we can use this tree bank fund money to purchase street trees in the future as we move forward.
Okay, so I got lost on the way, but what I think you said is the trees that we purchased the last 2 years have not come from the tree fund, they've come from the parks fund.
Right.
Gotcha. And that's why they're not showing up here.
Right.
But isn't a question, doesn't that come from the tree fund to a certain extent? If it gets transferred to the parks fund, then that, I mean, in the parks fund, then it gets spent on trees, right?
Forestry. Well, it gets spent on the forestry division,
Okay.
the forestry division. Yeah.
But what you're saying is that this year, there's going to be more focus of just spending the money from the tree fund instead of transferring that money
Spending it out of another.
and
Right.
into another fund.
Right.
It's budgeted for that.
I gotcha.
Okay.
If we can update our ordinance here and
Actually be able to use
hesitation,
it.
use that tree bank fund
Sure.
for the purchase of street trees and what we designate in there.
Because that, correct if I'm wrong, that 75,000 can not only be used for purchases, but also that purchase could be if I hired Simonellos to come plant the trees, that would be that would be purchasing the tree from them
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
planting it.
Correct. And maintaining it for a year.
Yeah. And warranting it for 2.
But for as long as I've served on the Shade Tree Commission, which is many years by now, there always have been lingering questions, about, why, what, things were hazy, things were not spelled out, things were unclear. And the Shade Tree Commission has had many question marks over the years. So, I second Susan's emotion that, regular updates, regular explanations, about the finances would be welcome.
I don't see any problem with that at all.
Okay, thanks, Tom. Does anyone else have any more questions for Ted concerning the tree bank fund discussion?
So, yeah, just tell us what happens now. So you've made these
I think what I'd like to do is get the language, I'd like to incorporate these changes because we're not in any huge, we're not going to go out and buy trees and
correct.
this next month or anything. So I like to incorporate those changes and get Darren to maybe review it and then bring it back to you next month.
Okay, great.
So that you can review. And then at that point, if it looks like it has all those changes in there, then maybe you can recommend it to city council at that point, if you're all right with that.
Sounds good. Okay, thank you, Ted. Any other questions for Ted before we move on? Okay. On to item number 6, which is the arborist report.
Okay, just going through this quickly, December, January, 2 months combined. We took down 4 large trees that we've been looking at for the last year that the funds were there, so we went ahead and removed the trees as they were viewed as hazardous and needing to be removed. 3 small trees we needed to remove because auto accidents cars had claimed them. Claims have been filed against those drivers to recoup those losses, and when we get those will be purchased and replanted. And we did lose 2 small trees to high winds. They were both spruce trees. Came over in the wind. We did manage to prune 66 street trees in December and January. The inventories for 2016, I can bore you, but we did do 2,863 trees, which is the highest that we've ever done. These trees, we've finally kind of implemented these into a 5-year pruning plan, and they're not scheduled again for service till 2021, or unless we have received a CSR that shows that they need to be serviced. We did remove 52 trees last year, which is about on the average now of where we're getting it every year. So with that combined with what our backlog is, we should catch up easily this year to our backlog. We did review 22 development plans here with the Shade Tree Commission and approved 22 plans. And we did plant 229 replacement trees in 2016, and we still have a backlog of 62 trees plus the 52 trees that we removed last year. Obviously, the ongoing project to shape the trees will continue. It's now as I said before, on a 5-year plan, pruning plan. I did do I don't know if, and I tried to get hold of Susan and I have not heard back from her yet. We had a donor donated a sum of money. I don't know if he actually donated it yet or he's thinking of donating a sum of money to Oak Grove, and it's for trees that he would like to see the money spent on trees. So I went ahead and did a tree inventory. I don't know why I didn't include those numbers here to you, but obviously the 4 main species of trees there were shagbark hickory was by far the most prevailing tree there, followed by red maple, then different species of oak, and sugar maple was the next. So we put together a plan which we'll bring before Shade Tree before we implement it, but it basically want to put in a lot of in keeping with the theme of Oak Grove, we want to plant some more oak trees into the new developments along where the new development will be along the roadways that are going to be developed in the future, and then also putting some color and contrast in with some dogwood trees and some other trees that are off of the approved Shade Tree Commission list for some understory trees such as red buds and such, just to give some color into the cemetery. And also, Tree City USA application was completed and turned in, and the per capita expenditure this year was $3.05. That's what I have.
Back to Oak Grove.
Yes.
Any maintenance issues? Have you got most of those cleared up?
There are some more trees there that need to come down. They're working on it. We're working on it. It has its separate budget too.
Yeah.
It doesn't come out of the forestry division, so. There's probably a dozen trees. total.
You got the worst of them out previously.
The worst are
Yeah.
gone. There's one sycamore that definitely needs to come down this season, but the rest of them can hang in there.
Okay, any questions for Doug?
I have a couple of questions. About Oak Grove Cemetery, I would assume that the cemetery has some wooded areas, wild areas, close to Liberty Road. I would assume that those trees are not included in the inventory.
No, those are not.
Yeah, that would be.
The old forest does not.
Yeah, okay. Another question about street pruning. I'm curious. You said we had the highest number of trees pruned ever. Is that work mostly done by contractors or city staff, or is it like 90-10, or how would you characterize it?
This year was probably closer to 75% city staff, 25%.
Okay.
Thing that I think with city staff doing the pruning, we tend to get less complaints also. So I think that's another advantage of having city staff do the pruning.
Sometimes we do though.
Would that be the same on the tree removal? Like
No, large tree removal, we generally will always use a contractor on.
Okay.
We don't have the equipment to get high enough, and I'm too old to climb that high anymore.
Any other questions for Doug? Okay, thank you very much. And we are on to staff comments. And then on to number 8, member comments. Anyone on the committee?
Are we on the member comments now or
Yes.
staff comments?
We are on member comments now.
Okay. Yes, I would like to bring up something. Sorry to be objectionable again. But this is not the first time it happened. On January 9th, City Council approved the plans for 2 development areas. Old Colony Estates, of Bowtown, that's Ordinance 16, 111, and 112, and also Willowbrook West on Houck, South Houck, south of 36 and 37. That is Ordinance 16, 113. Both plans stipulate that a street tree plan is required to be submitted, reviewed, and approved by the Shade Tree Commission for this phase. The second plan says all landscape plans would require review and approval by the Shade Tree Commission. I went back to November. No, we did not have a meeting in November. I went back to October and September. The Shade Tree Commission has never seen these plans. We have not reviewed them. We have not been consulted about them. We have not seen them and approved them. So, for the record, I would once again, register my objection. This is not the first time it happened. It happened routinely. There's nothing to do with Ted Miller. That goes back years. It might be a matter of lack of communication, proper communication, but this has been a systemic problem for many years, that we see maybe half of the plans, but not all of them. And I would like to see that corrected. I'm just doing what I'm supposed to do here, following our mandate, following our guidelines. Now, ordinarily, the Shade Commission would not even know that, but as you know, I do monitor City Council, and I see what they do, and there are sometimes discrepancies. between what city council does and what some commissions and committees and boards, do and see and get to do.
Well, now, something like that, that doesn't mean you won't see it. Okay? You just haven't seen it yet. We can approve that. It doesn't say it has already been vetted. It says it will be vetted.
Yes, okay.
So, I wouldn't get too concerned about that. Now the, and who's responsible for doing that and making certain that all those conditions are met falls back under planning and development. So as planning development as these developments go through the planning process, those are the things that they have to tick off and make certain that they come to the requisite bodies. But you will never, very seldom if ever, see a plan before it comes and gets approved by city council. Because it's a stipulation of after the fact, just like, all the final fit and finish, different things on developments happen. A lot of those happen at the staff level. In this case, landscape plans and tree plantings come back to the Shade Tree Commission. But they definitely should. If they say in there that they're going to, they definitely should. And if they're not, then that needs to go back to planning and development to make certain that they're getting that on their checklist.
Okay, that is precisely my point. That has not always happened in the past. And yes, I agree with you. And also I'm not overly concerned about it because we have a professional planning people. We have a city arborist. We have Ted Miller. So these plans are in good hands, and the people will make sure that the developers follow the letter and spirit of city law. However, I just want to make sure that the Shade Tree Commission at one point or another gets to see these plans and gets a chance to comment on them. And that has not always happened in past years.
Just to add to that also, Tom, sometimes some of these plans are approved, like I think there's Olentangy Ravines was approved like 10 years ago. And we don't even really get to review them anymore at that point. They were approved a while ago and they go through. But if that does happen, something like that, and Old Colony Estates might be another one that's similar to that. So if that does happen, I'll at least give a courtesy to let you know that this was approved, maybe however long ago, and it was approved at that point and won't be reviewed by the Shade Tree Commission because of that sometimes. Okay. So I'll at least give you a courtesy to let you know that happened if that does go through.
That may indeed be true for the Old Colony, I vaguely remember something.
I'm going to look into the Willowbrook.
Development is a new one.
Yeah, I'll look into that one too and see.
I think the other thing is that, like the Willowbrook West, that was a approval to go ahead with their plans. That wasn't their final plans that were submitted. And I think that sometimes that gets to a gray area. I can tell you, since I've been here, nothing like that has happened. You have reviewed every plan that I have ever gone out and worked. So, again, I think the Willowbrook West was an approval to move forward. I think Old Colony was the same thing because I haven't seen a set of plans on that yet either. So until I get the landscape plans, there's nothing to bring to you for approval.
Okay. Back to membership. Did you want to say something about the Now Watershed Festival, for example? I can speak to it.
Yeah, go ahead, Tom. You're on a roll.
City. Okay, that's a dubious.
No,
okay.
thank you.
The city watershed coordinator and sustainability coordinator, Colin Smith, has announced that the next Northern Olentangy Watershed Festival, the Now Watershed Festival, will take place on Saturday, June 10th. Yes, so that's a firm date now. Now, in past years, I believe for 2 times in a row, the Shade Tree Commission was there, along with Preservation Parks and other nonprofits and public sector organizations. So I wanted to bring that to your attention and suggest that the Shade Tree Commission once again, goes there and has a table and shares, informational material. We do have a certain educational mission according to our charter. And so that's one opportunity to interact with the public.
Thank you, Tom. Yeah, and I would like to add to that, you know, this upcoming spring and early summer season is kind of our community outreach time of year with Arbor Day, which will be, I believe, April 28th this year, which will be coming up even sooner. That's the last Friday in April. So it's just something to keep in mind, and you know, that's when we put our do some community outreach and provide some educational materials to the public and let them meet the people who help make City of Delaware Tree City USA, so that we're in the minds of the community and they're aware of us and aware of what it takes to be Tree City USA.
On that same topic, I was going to ask that you would just include planning for Arbor Day, First Friday, Watershed Festival in the agenda next month. Also, we can talk about the city always has us make a mini presentation or recognizes us sometime in one of their April meetings. So if we could just have an item on the agenda just to talk about those dates and who needs to do what, that was what I was going to add.
Along those lines, I need to get a hold of Soil and Water for trees if we want to do that again.
Yeah.
So if the answer is yes, I think it was about 300 that I requested last year. I think we got rid of about 250 last year between the various events. So does that sound good to everybody?
Yeah.
Sounds great.
All right. I have one more thing. Some of you may have seen an email recently go around, Paul, I think you were on the string, about a film called Trees in Trouble. Small independent film talking about invasive species in urban forests and benefits of and that sort of thing. And I have not seen it, but I know that some of the efforts from the lab up in Delaware were included in that. And they are currently, the producer and filmmaker are looking for venues.
To show it,
And-
you mean?
To show it. And typically they do sort of university settings, and that's why I had reached out to Tom and Dave Johnson or Jennifer, you know, I bossed it, to look for venues. But considering it's outreach that's sort of in our wheelhouse, it's certainly a fluid situation at the moment. And if it's something the Shade Tree Commission wants to get behind, I think there'll be an opportunity for that as well.
Now, is there a link to the video in that email? Because I didn't get a chance to see it yet either. Or can you just get on YouTube
I don't think
and
it's
bring it up that way?
available that way. It's it's sort of a organized showing kind of thing. Now, whether or not we can get a special preview or not, I don't know. We can certainly ask for one. It might be easier to get transcripts than the movie itself,
Right.
if we're concerned about content. Is
It'd
my
be-
guess. I don't know.
It'd be really cool to, if we we're going to have a local showing, to either do it on one of those two Fridays, the 28th, which is Arbor Day, April, or the following Friday, which is our first Friday event.
Wow, that would be cool if we could get it at the Strand on the first Friday event.
Does anyone
Wow.
have any personal connections with the Strand ownership or?
I'll
Really?
call them.
I know.
I'll call
Now, the video is,
Yes.
the video is very short. It's only 27 minutes in length. And I
Oh,
think they edited and may have added, a couple of things about, the forest, the Northern Forest Station. But it's not more than half an hour.
You seen it?
No.
Oh, okay.
It's
Okay.
not available on the web, but I read about it,
Okay.
and you can Google it and find a lot of information about it.
Okay.
The director and producer is based in Cincinnati, and the film, the documentary, takes place in Cincinnati. and focuses on the emerald ash borer and the devastation that EAB has caused. But then it branches out and includes other cities and other invasive species. But that's the gist of it, you know. And the film is geared towards K-12 students. It's open. It's certainly suitable for the entire public. It's an educational documentary, like, you know, PBS style, you know. And I heard good things about it. So it would be great. Maybe all of us should see it, in my opinion. Why not, you know, show it here someday, if possible. But maybe we could show it at the watershed. First of all, how would you do that outdoors? You know, at the Watershed Festival, there is an indoor shelter house. We could probably do it there, or maybe on a large screen outdoor. I'm not sure how to technically do that.
That is, well, I was thinking at the Strand.
At the Strand, yeah.
For that,
yeah.
but that's a good point. There's the shelter house at Mingo or some facility at Mingo that might be used at the Now Festival for a showing of this production. So that's another possible venue. If anybody thinks of any other ideas for venues on this, you know.
And of course, Ohio Wesleyan normally has a Green Week at the end of April, in conjunction with Earth Day and Arbor Day, etc. So we could probably show it on campus as well, and have a moderated discussion afterwards. Now there may or may not be, I don't know, there may or may not be a fee involved. You know, we need to investigate that. You know,
A plan B might be also, you know how First Pres has been sponsoring those.
Yeah, they do their great discussion series.
No,
No?
Deb Bogard it was a movie, gosh. What's it? Oh, it was on climate change. And Deb, and
before
one,
the flood, yeah, they have shown
okay,
up, yeah.
and they might be willing to, the basement of First Pres,
Okay.
which I was trying to think of something close to downtown for that first Friday, that people could walk down.
Yeah, I know a couple of people who attend there, and they're like Nora Highland from the OIPC.
Okay.
I believe attends there.
Deb Bogard may, because she was involved in showing the climate change, she was moderating the climate change video. She might know who to contact.
Okay. Yeah, I see her all the time, and I'll talk to Nora about that too. So those are four possible venues right there. Mingo, Strand, Ohio Wesleyan, and possibly First Presbyterian.
So,
Great
Paul,
idea.
if, since there seems to be some interest, would you mind if I shared your contact with the producers and that sort of thing?
Oh, yeah, share away, absolutely. That's definitely, you definitely can share with whoever you want to on this.
Because I don't know the details of what they're looking to get out of it other than exposure.
Encourage them to contact me.
Sure.
That'd be great.
All right,
Thanks.
will do.
This is a great idea, Dave. I'm glad you brought this up. 'Cause this just slipped my mind completely.
Oh, yeah, well, it's.
Because I did get that email, and I just didn't think about bringing it up here tonight, so I'm glad you did.
Sure. Happy to help.
All right. Any other member comments tonight? Okay. So then it's on to item number 9, plan reviews.
On the first one, when I got the original email, it had Midwest Structural. That's why that's what it says on your agenda. It's actually Midway Structural. So if you want to make that correction, and that'll be reflected in Elaine's minutes.
Yeah. It's one I've always participated in. Did I say 6? No, I might have said it. Oh. Yeah, it's May, yeah. Because we have the trees available.
Well, we'll have them be, Arbor Day. Usually do
Oh, Amazon. Yeah, right. Why? if we have it this year. Yeah.
Get on my notes.
I forgot about the Y.
No.
Can you check and see if the Y is doing their thing?
This is,
If it's that same, if it's the 29th.
yeah, my wife uses that. Yeah, that, she's that. Surface Pro, that's that one.
It looks like it in the picture.
I tried.
And then we chose to plant the tree
That's-
at the Y. Our tree planting.
Well, my ink,
there.
I just type just quick, I guess, so.
Mostly all
Yeah,
foundation.
it doesn't work for me as well. When I go in,
Even their street trees, they pull back behind that.
This is moving.
Oh, yeah.
Somebody else leaned on that already.
Right.
Somebody put the brakes on.
Yeah. I just don't know if the technology's caught up with it yet, because, I mean, I have it on here. It's just, I write notes, but when I go in to text it,
Yes,
it doesn't work.
that's a double file library.
Like, I mean, my writing's not the neatest, but if you do that, it's like, you gotta go through and retype it anyway. So, it doesn't really, hasn't been working for me, so my New Year's resolution is to eliminate paper.
Well, yeah. That may be, if they're not.
Yeah, hopefully, yeah, to see which ones we like the most, and I think they're gonna do more of those. This one's not bad. Yeah, and he was worried about, because I do a lot of AutoCAD. Yeah, Scott, our IT guy, but he was worried that, because I use AutoCAD a lot too. And, I
No,
don't.
there's nothing in
that
there.
much. Plus I have
Yeah, it's just-
AutoCAD Lite and that, heck, your phone can use AutoCAD Lite. So, yeah, it's been nice. Hopefully I'll get more organized.
Midway approved as submitted. That's it. Next is the next section of Brown Miller Woods, section 3. We did. Since we've gone to contain, actually, the B&B that our contractors have planted have done pretty well, but we've had, we're going to container. It's made a lot of difference in all of our trees. Loss is minimal. Yeah. Inch and a half to inch and 3/4. Some are even a little larger, so. We're planting, probably, the year that we planted all those trees, those were 15 gallon, they were probably inch and a half to inch and 3/4. Now we've gone to about 20 gallon size containers. They're about inch and 3/4 to 2 inch, depending on the species of tree.
Where are you sourcing them all from? Same place or different?
I get them all from Acorn now. I did use Lake County a little bit. I just find that the soils are just too different.
They are.
And I just really just want to stay in this area
Okay.
as far as
Yeah.
our suppliers go. Yeah.
And they're definitely getting,
Acorn?
yeah.
Yeah. I've been-
You work with Lou?
Well, I work with Lou a lot. and kids are allowed to.
Okay. And that's trustworthy for sure. For local rootstock.
Way to go, Paul. That's Brom Miller Woods, Doug.
Bromwell Woods approved with changes to tree species.
Changes.
Yes.
Tree species.
Last is Ohio Wesley's buildings that they're building on Oak Hill Avenue.
Yes.
This is the next one.
No, that's at 81 Oak Hill.
Okay.
It's just across the street on this side.
This is not a cross street. This is another hall.
It's a sidewalk.
Right.
Okay.
That's
On Roland, no. That's on Oak Hill. She was thinking about the first one on Roland.
I was thinking they were bringing out one.
They are, but
That's
that's
not it.
over on Oak Hill. 81 is the address.
Is this the parking lot to the dorm? Or is it farther? I'm trying to get where.
That should be the parking lot to the door. yes.
That's probably Welsh Hall. So Liberty Street's down here.
This is probably.
And it's all
We're in Texas.
Because
All right.
sometimes
These are all,
and if
there's a lot of trees. Yeah, they're on the other side, yeah.
you don't have conference.
And I'm sure that's for their maintenance purposes.
Yeah.
So what, no, I was just gonna ask someone, what requirements do you have for parking when they do housing units like this? Do they have to?
That would have to be.
I don't.
Yeah, I know.
I don't get myself. I mean, if you think it's something.
So that one's going as submitted.
As submitted, yeah. And these are all the same. These are just the elevations. It is.
The evergreens.
Somebody may want to.
It's just the elevation.
Yeah. Well, and in this case.
Oh, 1 foot.
Could you do
That's it for plans.
Thank you.
Bring me up. I'm very easy.
All right. Okay, all right.
We are adjourned. Thank you very much.
I'm trying.